ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Dissing Disabilities. I'm your host, Michael Schlesinger, and this is the show where we discuss individuals with disabilities and the issues around them, knocking down barriers one issue at a time. Today, the show is on the road, and we are continuing our series on the IEP process. We have a very special guest with me today, and this is Gail Nugent. Gail is a mediator, independent mediator for the IEP process. Welcome to the show, Gail.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay. And the reason that we wanted to bring this to parents' attention is because the IEP process is very daunting, as I've said in the series many times. And parents have one reaction, which is to protect and be their child's protector, kind of like Mama and Papa Cub, Papa Bear, excuse me. And so they want the best for their child. When they hear this process, it's very daunting, so they immediately want to fight, and that's not the process that you get the results you want. As my colleague said, and as my book refers, we like to look at the IEP process as a dance. You make a move, the district makes a response. You make a move, the district makes a response. And even though we're talking today about Long Beach Unified and this district, basically the subject of mediation can go across any district. It's just that we live in the Long Beach area and we focused on Long Beach Unified. Right. So, but this can be taken to any district. It would be important to find out what your district's process is, but there is a mediation process. And the reason that we're talking about this today is so that you know what to do instead of going and elevating to the most expensive and the most costly. Right. There's a reason and a way to establish the outcome that you want. First of all, Gail, why don't you explain to the viewers what you do as a mediator?
And if you don't mind, I'd also like to underline the understanding that I have that a parent wants the best for their child, and the IEP process is very daunting. And what I do is come into school districts as a neutral third party to help early on in the process of a disagreement, to gather people around a table to sit down and see if we can't find another way to resolve it. The value of doing it early and not immediately going to the more formal process is what I have found is it's an excellent way to build long-term relationships. And if you have those long-term relationships, I think it benefits you, and I think it benefits your child and the district.
And remember, you are your best child's advocate.
Absolutely.
You know your child the best. And I love what Chris said, and I think you said it at your lecture where I met you, which was, take the time in the beginning of the very beginning of the IEP process, when you're having the first initial meeting, bring the child in for 5 minutes, tell a story about them, tell what the child is doing well, and that way it sets the tone that we're working for Tim or Johnny, and for their best interest, instead of coming in and setting the tone that is, well, you're not giving what my child needs, so therefore I'm going to come in fighting.
Exactly. So I think the IEP process is not only daunting, but it can also be very off-putting. Sometimes it feels like to parents that all they're doing, the team is doing, is looking at the deficits of the child, what the child can't do. So bring in the real child in story, in photo, in video, and it makes it a more human process, I think.
And also having the child in for the first 5 minutes of the meeting.
Sure. If the parent is comfortable with that, sometimes you might not be, but.
Right. And as I was telling Chris, I thought that this was great now, because when I was going through Long Beach Unified many, many years ago, I won't tell you how long, what I found is that children were not allowed in the meeting at that particular moment. But my father and mother insisted, because I had the cognitive ability to understand. Now the attitude has changed, which is at whatever level that child can understand what they're doing, that makes them not feel like they're singled out and they're in that special RSP class or whatever.
Talked about somewhere else, right?
Exactly. They're going to understand at whatever level why and how things are happening to their education. And so what I think is important about Gail's job is, how do we come to a happy medium? Because emotions are running high. When you're talking about the IEP, and the IEP is basically a contract between the school district and you,
the parent.
The parent, how do we make sure that Johnny gets the best education possible? The fair, appropriate education.
Right. So every mediator is a little different, but the goal of mediation always is to make everyone in the room feel safe, make it an informal, effective dialogue. And you referred to, and many people think, seeing if we can reach a happy medium. I like to go even above that and say, see if we can find a way to meet everybody's needs. And sometimes that's quite possible. So it takes the dispute out of the IEP into a room with the administrators or whoever's designated at each district. And I hope I and others provide a safe environment to have a really effective, meaningful conversation about the student.
And I think what Gail is saying is very, very important. So even if you have to watch this video several times to grasp it, that's why we created this series with little bits of information, because there's so much to the IEP process, and we want parents to know that this is quality information that they could, maybe it's not exactly what their district is going to do, but you have a pretty good idea of a way to go.
And I think, and I could be wrong, every district's a little different, but many districts put in the procedural safeguards on the very back page. There's usually a contact person there who's internal to the district that can help you resolve your dispute. So this is different than the formal process. This is the more informal process. And if it's not there, call your case manager or the program specialist to see how it is you can work within that school district to have a more informal opportunity to discuss the differences.
And really, the reason why I would say, Gail, and I've heard it over and over with the people that I've talked to as I'm doing the show, is that cost is certainly
A
portion of it, and the way that you feel, the tone of going into the meeting. When you're going into a very formal, it's very stodgy, there's really no movement, there's attorneys present, and these meetings can get forestalled.
Yes.
Okay? And with a mediator, at least if you have a mediation going on, that block of time doesn't feel as stodgy, doesn't feel as stiff and formal, and you can get done things that you may not get in the formal hearing, because what it is in the formal hearing, they're just going to go your side, our side, decision.
And if I can take it a step further, what I see happen over and over is a formal process does not build relationships. The informal process, a secondary benefit of it, is that you'll often find yourself building really healthy relationships with the people you're working with. And if you have that, you can continue to have differences of opinion about an IEP, but you have people you can go to talk through those differences. It's all about communication.
And try also to, as in advance as soon as you know about these problems, pick up the phone, call
Absolutely.
your district, call your mediator like Gail, find out if there is a mediator, get their name and phone number. I know you serve LA South Bay.
I serve various school districts at various times. I've been all over Southern California.
So all over Southern California. So Gail, why don't you, if you feel comfortable, if you're in the Southern California area and you need a mediator, Gail, give them your information. Let them contact you.
And let me just say that it may be that your district already has a program. I know Long Beach, I believe, has a program. What I'll do is I'll make every effort to at least help you find, if I can't help you, find the people in the district that can help you. And my number is 760 area code 390-6061.
Say it one more time.
Okay, 760-390-6061.
And do you have an email?
I do. And quite frankly, it's sometimes easier to reach me with quick questions through my email. It's G.A. Nugent, Nugent, at pacbell.net. And Pacbell is spelled PACBELL.net.
Thank you so much, Gail.
Thank you, Michael.
I really hope that this episode helps parents understand that there is a way. There is something more than just going direct. And do you agree? Do you like that idea or the analogy of dancing the dance?
Sure.
How do you feel about that? Is that kind of a good way to?
Sure. And I think it's even larger than dancing the dance. Again, I'll bring it up that I think it's so important that you build as best you can healthy relationships with the people that you're going to be working with, in some cases 18 to 22 years. It makes the whole event of your child's life so much more productive.
Do you find at all that there are times when mediation doesn't work?
I find it almost always helps the relationship. They may not reach an agreement, but people will often go away thinking about it and willing to come back. The more formal process often ends in a litigious dispute that doesn't have a lot of room to grow. So again, let me just say that if you come to the table, there's a healthier relationship being built. Even if you don't solve it at that moment, there's at least a discussion happening. So I do feel it's helpful.
So ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time today. If you have any questions, please feel free to shoot me an email, rob@specificallyspeaking.com, and you can also leave a comment down here that helps us grow, and we also need you to help us grow by subscribing. Thanks for watching and have a great day.
Thank you.